Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. I'm your host, John A. Costa. Today is January 4th, and this will be episode 2. Of course, the only thing we're really going to be discussing in great length is Maduro being arrested and flown to New York. The country of Venezuela is now theoretically under the control of the White House. A lot of speculation on is it even legal? How is this going to work? And those are all fair questions. I don't mind Democrats, Republicans, or the citizens of the United States asking those questions. I give a rat's patootie what any other nation thinks, honestly, because all that matters is the United States. But there are questions, and they're legitimate questions on, how this all unfolds. The big question out there is, at what point do we have to get Congress involved, other than being informed? But if we are going to be in a conflict with Venezuela on the ground, then absolutely it has to go through Congress. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The president can, in the short term, cite reasons why he can do it without Congress, but I don't think that would be very wise of the president to do. The other factor that has to be exposed is what, other than the oil basis, and we'll discuss that a little bit down the road here, because everyone's screaming, it's the oil, it's the oil. Now, that is a factor. But we have to look at the drugs, the cartels, the influence, and who's influencing the influencers inside of Maduro's cartel. This has been actually in our lifetime the only other time that I could think when the United States actively overthrew a government. Because this is exactly what has happened. We overthrew a government. Call it whatever you like. Was in Vietnam. And we saw how that has worked out. The puppet governments of the United States has seldom ever worked to our advantage. So when you have the president come out and say, yeah, I'm going to be running the show, then he just becomes the dictator. And I think the words are important that he uses. I don't think that his live speech that came on at 11:45 yesterday was very good. That was not even ad-lib. That wasn't even, Trump reading, and just ranting off. It was not a good speech, but I think it was so fluid that really the president should have had something out there to say, hey, America took this step because of drugs continued to be coming out. Venezuela's own military was not stopping these speedboats and drugs from leaving the port. And as such, amongst the fact that Venezuela had broken deals and nationalized oil and only allowed Chevron to run, and not even run, it was dictated to, and cost America a lot. The oil companies. But we have to look, deeper into it. And he should have said that I'm going to have another press conference. Right now, there's so much dust in the air here that I have to wait for things to settle. But for the question of is Venezuela under U.S. control, I don't know if I would have said that without knowing. Do we have the support of the military? Do we have the support of, is there an opposition leader? Is the opposition leader then going to turn against America and go, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with you to look like you're pushing me up as a puppet. I think this came very fast. I did not think that we would do and capture him. It shows that we must have had some real inside intel on where he was and how he got captured, because he had military personnel protecting him, Maduro. And it seems too neat, too wrapped up. I think the real underlying was not so much drugs, and even not so much oil. China has a huge footprint in Venezuela. Chinese economic and political backing made them the perfect ground for a warm water, safe place to bring ships, to station military vessels in, theoretically, and not theoretically, but in our underbelly. Russia still has some military stake in Cuba, and it would just mean more assets that the United States would have to have in that region to watch out for a Chinese or an Iranian presence in Latin America. Was Venezuela a communist nation? Kind of close, but it was more of a socialist nation with an authoritative leader who had control of everything. And it went from oil to drugs. And he got his backing and money from a lot of different sources. There was a lot of talk of Venezuela in the 2020 political arena. I don't know about that. I heard about it. I've seen articles about that, but I've never seen any solid proof of that, where people said, this is what we have. There were people coming out of there that defected and put that stuff down on paper, but you don't know. Now that we'll be in there, I think there are going to be things brought up and found that will influence our political makeup. And this could be Republicans, this could be Democrats. I think there's going to be people who were making money on drugs, making money on oil, making money on side deals, that are going to be affected. I think it's going to be more Democrats than it are Republicans, but there's going to be Republicans in there because, as I've said before on my podcasts, when it comes to money, being a blue Democrat or being a red Republican all turns to green. And it's just a fact of life. It is what happens. You get money involved, and it just becomes too tempting. Where people scream about term limits in our government, mostly in the Hill, on the Hill, that rules true to money being a factor, because you have a lot of these longtime politicians staying in place, and they're not staying in place because they like serving. They're staying in place, one, because they've all become uber rich. They like the power, and they got to stay there now to cover their tracks. They stay in power to cover their tracks. If you look at anyone that stays in anything for so long, and they've gotten a lot of money in their time, it's to cover their tracks. Now, a term limit would kind of take that away. So I'm not for term limits, only because if a person's doing a good job, why throw them out? And even with the presidents, I felt, we elect, it's not a king, though before the 22nd Amendment, you could. But it didn't work out that way, because in our society, the tide turns all the time, because we have political freedom, we have freedom of the press, and we have free speech. The right to assemble weighs in heavily on all that. Where the issues coming in on that, of course, and now I'm skewing off to the side, but in Venezuela, you didn't have that free speech. You didn't have any of that. So it was a dictatorship with a sprinkling of theoretical democracy, which, again, we don't live in a democracy. This is a republic. And either you do it my way over there, or you end up, dead. They took a lot of their criminals and moved them into the United States. So if we can make Venezuela safe again, then all the Venezuelans with temporary protection status, they're out. And we can now show Latin America that we will do the same to your countries. We'll make them safe again. And then all those people can go back, because you don't have to worry about that. And if you leave voluntarily after that status is over and then you want to apply for citizenship, go ahead. If you say, hey, I have businesses here and stuff, and you want to stay as a green card holder or as someone that's allowed to be here, I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. But if you are a criminal, if you have done criminal acts, shoplifted, and have numerous convictions and stuff, out you go. And that should be anyway. Whether we make your country safe again or not, go steal from over there. There has always been talk of how close Venezuela and Cuba were. And this is true going back even to the Hugo Chavez, who they signed almost like a mutual protection policy, where Cuba would provide aid to them and Venezuela would help Cuba. There were talks about special forces of Cuba, special forces called the Black Wasps. That's a special, highly trained special forces being in and controlling the ports. But that has really never been verified by anyone. The China has people in certain countries and a military presence to speak of in Latin America that the United States does know about and is monitoring. That, of course, didn't happen under President Trump's 1 year. This has been going on for a long time. And they made great strides under the Biden administration. And they made great strides under the Obama administration. And this is where you're going to see money. This is where you're going to see money. You have a long history of Chinese influence and political partnerships inside Venezuela and in Latin America and in South America. You see a huge presence by Iran of spreading Islam through Latin America and South America. Huge push. It is something where it has to be looked at. And is it social or is it a military conversion? And are they being converted over because, let's say, Iran or Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates are funneling in hundreds of millions of dollars for social programs, saying, look what I'm doing for you. Did your church do that for you? So that has to be looked at. And that's a factor. And as long as the money was coming in, paying the dirty government people over there, they could care less because they'll just take their money and go to the United States or go to somewhere, and they won't stay there. The long running legal issues with oil goes back and back and back and back. And Hugo Chavez was very influential with tightening the control of Venezuelan oil. And most of that oil was transported like to Texas and Louisiana and stuff. Because it was, when you hear the difference of oil prices between light crude and heavy crude, South American and Latin American oil, in South America, it's very, very heavy oil. It needs a lot of processing. And it needs specialized processing. And our refineries were set up pretty well for that. A lot of oil that was coming in and leaving Venezuela was being done so illegally under, we had sanctions. The drug connection was the easiest step to climb. Since we had a warrant for his arrest and things, but that's a very, very, very slippery slope. Because you could have a court, The Hague, say, we want to arrest Trump, or we want to arrest Obama, or we want to arrest, and our laws say, no, you can't do that because they have immunity. You know, what happens if The Hague decided we're going to have a special unit that goes in and it extracts Obama for the murder of bin Laden and people associated with him? So it gets very tense. And you have our legal system, and then you have now an international legal system. And if you're not going to adhere to the international that you might have agreed to in 1950, where we ran the show, and now, they're independent or they're hostile to us, well, maybe it's time we don't belong to that club anymore. So that's something to think about. I think December 30th, the President of the United States signed a National Security Presidential Memorandum 2, pointing to Iran and Venezuela, UAV development and ballistic missile programs. So technology was being transferred and using Venezuela to build things and ship it back that way. But in return, Iran gave them the intellectual rights to those things. It's dangerous. Dangerous. Is it illegal? I don't think so. But we shall see. We shall see what happens. This is truly, for most of us, is uncharted territory. Of course, in World War II, we won. We went into the Axis countries. It was under our control, military control, until we got the citizens to have a political party that we wanted, and had a presence there for years, decades. Are we prepared for that? Is that what we want to do? What happens if the people of Venezuela go, we don't want America here. We want Maduro. We elected him, and that's who we want. Your laws are your laws. Our laws are our laws. What's the problem? It's a tough position to be in. Drugs are killing our citizens. Voluntarily, these people take these drugs, and it's killing our society. Do you just cut the tail off a snake, or do you cut the head off? You cut the head off. But then you have to cut all the snakes' heads off. Mexico, China, those countries that allow the snakes to slither over their territory, Canada, we must stop drugs. It's time we realize and reflect back and just really look, is marijuana a drug? Yes, marijuana is a drug. You have states that said, you could have heroin, and the states are falling apart. They go, oh, well, we're going to do clean needles. We're going to give them places where they could shoot up and stuff. What's wrong? What's wrong with these people? Is this what you want running around your streets? Flying your airplanes? And they go, well, no, you could choose not to. But when you're 16 or 15, you're not thinking about what you're going to be doing at 22. Yet these drugs get a hold of you and rewire you. No. Not good. Not good. Drugs bad. Alcohol does not really rewire you. And in moderation, alcohol is all right. You can't say the same about drugs. You can't say it. And there are some people that shouldn't drink. And some people that can't. They for whatever reason, their brain gets addicted to alcohol. And you could have people that drink all the time and then go 45, 50 days without taking a drink, and, nothing happens. And it's the way that works. But drugs definitely are a link. And mostly the synthetic drugs, you have no idea what any of that does. There's no control of it. And you could say, well, then maybe we should control it and sell it and dispense it. No, no. How about you stop it? How about you stop it? And do I think that this was all about drugs? No, no, not at all. This had more of a strategic, long term military issue going on here. Were we going to allow China to take a foothold into South America? Were we going to allow Iran to take a foothold into South America and Latin America? And the answer is no. Under President Trump, no. We're not going to allow that. How this works out, how this might work to Colombia, we already stopped China from taking over the Panama Canal, which was insane. What the freak was Biden thinking? Moron. Moron. I haven't been on for a while. I've been sick again. So once I'm sick, boy, it just knocks me out. Takes me days to recover, and then all of a sudden you get another cold or you get something else. You might hear it. I've been to the doctors. They can't find anything wrong with me other than I'm fat and I'm old. Can't do anything about being old. Could try something to do about being fat. Whatever. The other tidbit that, of course, now I'll talk about is the fraud in Minnesota. Now there is fraud being looked at too in Illinois over the PPP, which was the payroll preservation, program, started to help companies during COVID with their payrolls. It was a free loan, but it had to be used to continue your payroll and keep people working. And that was just an open door for fraud. Open door for fraud. And the way that ran, and all these government programs that were just shoved out the door, billions shoved out the door, to keep businesses going, and pay people to stay home because they were being told to stay home. So if you were staying home and you weren't going out to eat, the restaurants weren't buying food, the farmers weren't producing, because what are we going to do with all this extra beef? What are we going to do with these chickens? What are we going to do with these eggs? What are we going to do with this? The consumer takes so much of it, but if I can't go out there and harvest my field because I can't hire people, or I can't, bring in illegals, whatever, well, what do you think was going to happen? And then you had the influence of, meat bad. Meat is bad. And you had a government in power that was, we're going to save the earth no matter, even if we wipe out mankind. I mean, that's really what they were doing. Plant-based. And you go, I'm going to drink cashew milk. Cashews are a direct relative of poison ivy. So go have your glass of poison ivy. Almond milk. Well, almond milk, if they took the shell off, but the shell, the casing of an almond, will eat through your gut. And, if you want to eat a peanut, eat pistachios, uncolored pistachios. They're great for you. But all this stuff was, you look at why our prices of meat is now $50 for a steak in our store, because they weren't producing cattle, because restaurants weren't ordering it, because they were all closed down. And these were cycled animals, meaning that, every 3 months we have more cattle. We breed them, feed them, process them. And they knew basically how much to do. And that ended. And that will take years. And then you have, the anti-meat people out there pushing it. And then you had, like Burger King, the Impossible Whopper made out of plant-based. They're not telling you what plants they're using or what chemicals they got in there to make it taste like meat. And somehow that's good for you? One of the worst things you could eat is oatmeal, oats. Your body does not like processing oat. Made for horses. And Americans just run and, everyone, oh, this is great, this is good, look what we're doing, we're saving the environment. One cow, the gas that cow produces is affecting the ozone. You gotta be kidding me. And people believe that, and they sat there and they, are quoting that. And they go, well, can you show me the scientific study on that? Well, scientists said, can you show me the study? No. But it goes to reason, because it's this methane gas that gets out. Is that not crazy? And you had people take a look at it and go, hold it, there's an opportunity here. If I buy up all the land and you can't put cattle on them now, and you're screaming plants, 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 well, you know what? I'll take that 180,000 acres and I'll grow plants in here. Now I control the food. And I get to say who eats and who doesn't eat. How about that? You have a government telling you, if you don't eat. You can only go to stores on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Who did shit like that? Communist countries. Yeah, you think about that. The fraud going on in Minnesota, as I'm going to circle back to that. You have Tim Walz up for election. You have Democrats up for election. And as I said before, this is all going to be used. Are the Democrats going to use the president to saying any Republican that supports that is, sure they will. But I think where the Republicans, and I know I will keep pointing back, is that they took hundreds of billions of dollars in these states out of your pocket, while screaming that the Republicans in power should pay for medical, which could have all been done if the Democrats didn't steal the money. And in Minnesota, ship it off to Somalia. Again, they're going to scream and we're going to circle it right back to them. The lies, Mamdani, his lies will come out. His untruths. And you have to remember that in the Islam faith, you don't have to be truthful to those non-believers, the unclean. You can lie to them. It's perfectly all right to do. And you can use people. The end justifies the means. If I want to topple you, I'll put drugs out there. And I'll put homosexuals out there. And I will poison the minds of people. But if you go to a mosque, we'll be telling you the truth. This is bad. You can't do this. You can't poison your body with drugs. You can't. Same-sex love is forbidden with death. You can't drink. And you must stay pure. And everyone else will be wiped out. You convert, you can change. We'll give you that. We'll give you that one opportunity. And then you get in our line and, you'll live, but you'll have to live under Sharia law and forget all your other stuff. That won't matter because God knows what's the best for you. It's all written here. Yeah. I want to know with Tim Wilson his Chinese connection. Isn't that interesting? The president is unlocking this all. His problem is, what part of it do I let out first so that I get the most momentum to open the other doors? I don't want to go and open the last door and then everyone, forgets about all the other doors. I want this to be a ball rolling down the hill and then causing an avalanche and then burying all those people. So it has to be done right. And he started. And everyone thought, the second day he's going to do all this. No. Good work takes time. Though I think that what's going on in Venezuela, I don't know if the president has the power to run Venezuela. And this is why I say Congress is going to have to intervene. But I think Congress has to be shown, truthfully, everything. This is why we did it. How can you refute this? And they might go, well, there was other means. No, we asked him to surrender, and he said no. We asked his government to arrest him and give him to us, and they said no. So we took him. A no-knock warrant. And we've done that before. We have done that before. All right. 45 minutes of me ranting here, but with facts. I think I got everything that I wanted to talk about here. Personally, I think Cuba is the next country to go. And they're teetering. And I think there's enough that we could push them over and allow them to be democratically run. Let America and Europe go back in there and claim their property, but not in the to hurt the people of Cuba, but to rebuild that. It's going to be ours. We're going to rebuild it. But while rebuilding it, you're going to have homes, you're going to have food, you're going to have infrastructure. And we'll sign business deals with you, and Cuba will get the money. It won't go into deep pockets somewhere else. And, but we need a clean political system where we don't find ourselves back here 20 years from now facing the same dilemma. We have a chance to topple Iran. Very close. Obama could have done it, and he didn't, for personal interests. For personal interests. Trump does not have any personal interest over there. The oil. They got oil. Oil everywhere. You could dig in New Jersey and find oil. There's still plenty of oil in Pennsylvania if you really want to look for oil. Where there's coal, there's oil. So this is more about us using the oil and then going now to alternative, safe nuclear reactors. And when I say safe, they're going to have to really show that these things are safe, because when things go bad, they go bad. So with nuclear. So that's my show for today. Democrats, be warned, we're coming into your blue states. We're going to look at the money that you have taken. Red states, you're going to get the same examination. If you did stuff illegally, you're going to go to jail. You're going to be brought up, found guilty, and off you go. All right. Give to a charity if you can. Talking about charities, just make sure that they're a known charity that have done good things. Don't feel comfortable with that? Please give to a food bank. Monetary is always great. Food is always great. Ask them if they need blankets, if they need old clothes you don't have anymore. You have a bunch of kids' clothes, you don't know what to do with it. Give it to them. Or they can point you to someone that can use it. And church groups, mosques, anyone that could use it. Temples, anyone. As long as it's used locally. I don't want to see this stuff carted up and sent to the Gaza. I want this to be used locally to help us. America helping Americans. Let the Muslims take care of the Ghazian people, not us. Not us. And if you want to go over there and help, please, all gay groups, go over there with your flags. And they have beautiful rooftop apartments that you can look at. See how bad America is. All right. And with that rant, Bob in New York, make a comment. I enjoy it, as well as others who leave me, hey, good topic, bad topic. And I don't show all my comments. My show. All right, everyone. Take care. Be well. This will go up live as it is now, and I will do my edited show in minutes just to push it out the door. As I fade to